Have you ever experienced an enigmatic sense of unease for an extended period? A feeling that something is amiss but indefinable? I grappled with this sensation for years. Despite being aware at an intellectual level that everything was fine, I had a persistent, lurking feeling of doom and gloom deep within me. It was as though I had an innate belief that a significant change was imminent, and I feared losing what I currently had. It took me several years to grasp or recollect the origins of the dark, foreboding feeling that often enveloped me. Then one day, it struck me like a lightning bolt. I realized I wasn't simply reacting to present events. Instead, I responded like I did when I lived at home with my parents many years ago. I had internalized the pattern of abrupt chaos that would ensue when my father's mood suddenly shifted, overturning the peace that had existed moments before. I can still clearly recall a particular instance when this happened. My parents enlisted me to drive them from Rorvik to Oslo during the summer. As we made our way, we scheduled a stop at the hospital in Trondheim for my father's medical appointment. The news from the doctor was positive. So, we decided to celebrate by purchasing a cake and enjoying a pleasant evening in our hotel room, relieved and grateful that my father was in good health. However, the mood in the room suddenly shifted when my father insisted we drive non-stop from Trondheim to Oslo the following day, which would take about 7 hours. He argued that my brother in Oslo was waiting for us, and I had to suck it up and drive for 7 hours so my brother would not have to wait any longer for us. Concerned about driving such a long distance without rest, I offered to let him take over, but he declined. My mother supported my viewpoint, suggesting that we needed to stop between Trondheim and Oslo so that I could get some rest. This stance upset my father, leading to heated arguments throughout the rest of the evening. In frustration, I finally had to intervene, warning that if their arguing continued, I would pack my bags and take the next plane to Tromsø, leaving them to return home to Rorvik. This is just one of many examples from my childhood of how a pleasant evening could suddenly turn sour because of my father. So it is no wonder I am still triggered by having a good time now, automatically assuming the same thing will happen again. How do I handle being triggered? I have two well-proven techniques: conscious breathing, which you might call Zen breath, and the name Yehovah. Both these techniques are able to bring me back to the present, where I suddenly realize everything is okay because I am in covenant with Yehovah, and Jesus carried the consequences of my disobedience on the cross. How did I handle being triggered when I was a mainstream Pentecostal? In those days, practicing Zen meditation was often condemned due to its association with Buddhism. At the same time, mentioning Yehovah was directly connected to the Jehovah's Witnesses sect. As a Christian, I was taught to direct my focus solely on Jesus, but I found it challenging to do so. I distinctly remember how I yearned for my Zen Buddhist practices' peaceful, mindful days when I felt more grounded in the present moment. Some argue that Zen meditation might be considered a sin due to its association with idolatry. The Bible, which Jesus read, clearly condemns idolatry, prohibiting the mention of the name of another god. However, it does not denounce adopting techniques and wisdom from other philosophies or religions that do not involve idol worship. For instance, Zen meditation, yoga, acupuncture, and Tai Chi do not involve idol worship. Considering these practices as sinful would only be justified if one's church explicitly teaches them as such. This can be viewed as legalism, adding human-derived rules to God's law, reminiscent of the Pharisees' actions. Some people argue that the name Yehovah is not essential for Christians and that Jesus is the only relevant name. However, in the Bible, Jesus indicated that he came to reveal the Father's name, which is to be revered. According to the Bible, the Father's name is Yehovah or Jehovah. In the Old Testament, which Jesus read, several powerful promises are associated with the name Yehovah, including the assurance that the one who calls upon the name Yehovah shall be saved. So, as you might see, the Bible does not consider what I am doing when I practice Zen meditation and call upon Yehovah's name a sin. I can testify that it helps me be untriggered and avoid worrying. We all face moments of worry and uncertainty, often due to circumstances beyond our control. The Bible teaches us not to worry, but instead to focus on living according to the terms of the covenant and seeking Yehovah. Despite this guidance, maintaining a worry-free mindset can be challenging, especially when faced with chaos or unexpected challenges. For me, practicing Zen breathing and calling upon the name of Yehovah has been incredibly helpful. Although there are valid reasons to worry in most cases, I have found solace in being present now, trusting that Yehovah will guide me through any predicament. Despite not knowing the outcomes in advance, I have never been let down by Jehovah. I have learned that everything else falls into place by prioritizing my focus on Jehovah, living by the covenant, and staying present in the moment. What about yourself? Do you find yourself easily worried or triggered? Instead of wasting your time on human-made solutions that do not work, focus on what Jesus taught us. Living after the covenant, focusing our minds on Jehovah, and staying in the present. I know from my own experience this works.